Raul Ramirez of Kung Fu Culture. So, talking about Sanda again today. I just want to give everyone like let's get the basically all the announcements out of the way. First announcement, there's no real announcements because we don't have school right now at the university. We're on summer break, so nothing's really going on. So if you want to train, of course, if you're in the Los Angeles area, feel free to like schedule a private lesson. We can schedule that not at the university, but at Fight Science MMA, the MMA school that I teach at. I don't teach Sanda there, but I teach wrestling there. But we can always arrange a private lesson. If people actually want to do like a group Sanda class, that can probably also be arranged through the gym. So just hit me up, especially on like you can always comment underneath on like our YouTube channel or whatever, or you can message probably especially like maybe our Instagram or whatever. So there's that. So okay, so with that being said, actually, I think this whole thing kind of started off a few weeks ago when someone asked about some judo takedown, and then it was one of the sacrifice throws. So for those of you who don't know what that means, it just means like a takedown where you basically fall down and then you hope that your technique will kind of force the opponent to fall down as well. So there was one judo sacrifice throw that someone was asking if there is some sort of Sanda equivalent to, and no, really, you just can't really do like takedown or like a sacrifice throws in Sanda, because if you touch the ground first, and even basically if you touch the ground first, you're down. And especially if you pull them down on top of you and they stay on top of you, you've totally you've messed up, right? So no, there's no real sacrifice throws. There are a couple like there's that one like the back sweep that you can put your hands on or your gloves on the mat to execute a back sweep, and you're not considered down because you're doing something that's like super cool. Now they don't consider it like just they don't think you're down, not because you're looking like super cool, but it's because you're doing a technique that's not a sacrifice throw. You're actually doing a type of kick. So that's kind of like one of the exceptions. Also, a lot of the Chinese really like the like inside trips and stuff like that. So your knee might touch the ground before your opponent, but they're still going down, and the end result is they're going down and you're on top. So that's ultimately the dynamic you want to be thinking about. And so another question though that came up from just recently too, a bunch of people have been asking questions about like why don't we see like more like wrestling type sprawls in Sanda, especially against a double leg. I think that really brings up the main topic of today. So you're not going to see like a wrestling sprawl in Sanda because, again, if you sprawl, especially like in wrestling, a lot of times a really deep sprawl, like a sprawl that will really try to get the person down, like face down. A lot of times you will go with your feet, we call like laces down. So like the top side of your feet towards the mat so that you really, even if they keep pushing into you, you're sliding down, you're sliding back, you're forcing them forward and down into the mat. But you're pretty much down. I mean, you might get a point if they stop and you're on top, but you're not really seeing that so much in Sanda competition. You're seeing a lot of people wanting to do counter throws. So a lot of times you're going to try a sprawl in Sanda will be maybe just trying to get your legs back further away from them and then trying to set up a counter throw, a counter takedown. That's what you're going to see mostly, and that's going to be kind of like the goal. I mean, you can, or maybe if you kind of do more of a jumping back kind of sprawl, a lot of times the goal would be to snap them down to get them touching the mat, or to get them down, like face down into the mat. Not so much like a wrestling sprawl. And so, uh, kind of want to kind of get into a little bit more of these details. And so I totally made a list. But I've also, besides making a list, I also made a cool video that might break down some of the rules. So hopefully this kind of gets you an idea that Sanda is more than just like what people might consider like a Frankenstein type of art, where it's like someone who might only know about wrestling, then they're gonna think, oh, they see a takedown or whatever. Then like, oh, is that kind of like wrestling? Or someone with a judo background, they see like a standing takedown, and they think, oh, is this like judo? And are these, or again, also like Muay Thai or something? They think, oh, he sees punches and kicks, and oh, we invented that, and you hear all kinds of things. A lot of times it's because they come from their own background, so they're seeing things through that lens. But Sanda is more than that. But let's go ahead and check out this video that I prepared for y'all that kind of breaks down this whole dynamic of Sanda points and takedowns. Okay, here we go.
In Wushu Sanda, how do you know if a strike is worth 1 point or 2? Imagine the red fighter lands a fast punch, but blue instantly throws him to the mat. Who won the exchange? Before points even matter, a strike has to hit a valid target area: the head, the torso, or the thighs. Sanda's scoring system mathematically rewards technical difficulty. Standard punches to the head or torso, and any valid kick to the thigh will earn you exactly 1 point. But kicking to a higher target carries more risk, so it doubles the reward. A clean kick to the torso or head gets you 2 points. Things get complicated when the fighters clinch. If they get tangled up and both fall to the floor, the fighter who hits the mat second is awarded 1 point. But the ultimate technical showcase is a clean takedown. If you can throw your opponent to the mat while keeping your own feet firmly planted, you earn 2 full points. So looking back at that opening exchange between the two fighters, Red's opening punch earned 1 point, but Blue's clean standing throw took the round with 2.
All right, so hopefully that kind of gives you an idea. And the thing is like, again, Sanda is not like this Frankenstein type of art where things are just put together. They actually like got it from kind of like um, the whole idea of like you have the tradition of doing stuff on the Lei Tai. You also have a mix of fights that were done at Nanjing University. They were trying to find out like kind of what techniques kind of work, and then but since there are a lot of standing styles, yeah, in Kung Fu that have this transition from standing to takedowns. So these types of things aren't so foreign. Like having the combination isn't so foreign. But say in modern days, especially say like even taking wrestling, where it's like modern Olympic freestyle wrestling came from older type of wrestling called catch as catch can wrestling, and it had a lot more what nowadays we call submission holds in it. So those, of course, were eliminated, and what we have today is this more neutered version. Even though it's still aggressive, it's still difficult. But you have like stuff that's really reliant on points, um, and you can't really be doing a lot of these old wrestling holds. Um, Otherwise, you'll give up points, you'll totally lose. But so you see how it's like nowadays you have people with these kind of like isolated perspectives of these different martial arts. So when they see Sanda, they don't really see that Sanda, even though you can have someone who might want to focus more on the kickboxing, or they might want to focus more on takedowns or the boxing. The style still comes from an environment that was a little bit more holistic with regards to having a more almost like a mixed martial arts way of looking at like fighting and self-defense. So I don't know, in a way, I say I don't want to say mixed martial arts because it's not like say like UFC or whatever, but it's still like this whole kung fu idea where you have like a mix of striking, even joint locks, wrist locks, finger locks, and all that, and then also takedowns, and it's always kind of like been baked in to the style. I saw something recently too, where say like regarding Muay Thai, you have a lot of people say like, oh, there's an older version and it has more things that are considered like against the rules nowadays. But then yeah, you have to think about what you just said. It's yes, there are rules even in Muay Thai. Some people who make rules for Muay Thai definitely they say that they don't want Muay Thai to look like MMA as well. So it's like you have to see that these modern things, these modern styles have their rule set. And uh, so then if you only are familiarize yourself with that, then you will only have this type of like almost like segmented understanding of martial arts. And of course, then when you look at Sanda, you'll be like, oh, this is some weird style where they're that was like a what is that like a what's that animal from Australia? The platypus or whatever. Where you got a duck bill and like a beaver tail and whatever. It sounds not like that. I mean, the platypus is a wonderful animal just on its own, but people are thinking it's some kind of like weird thing where you're kind of forcing all these uh, like different aspects into one thing, and it's not like that. All right. Okay. So another thing on the list. Okay. I think what we just talked about was kind of like one of the main things, but then the other thing that I wanted to that I noted down is what about this takedown? So the little video that I put talked about so like the point or the scoring for takedowns and but you basically only have 2 seconds to get the person down. So once you grab them somehow, right? So you can, and also you can grab the legs, unlike judo or whatever. You can clinch up. You can do a lot of these standing throws like Greco-Roman wrestling, judo. But you see how like Greco-Roman again is it was a popular French style of wrestling. Judo, of course, we know it's more modern Japanese style, takedown style. So both of these kind of look more similar. So except Greco, not with the pajamas, right? Uh, so then, so you'll see those throws in Sanda, but done with gloves. And but we can also grab the legs. You can also do a double leg. You can also do a lot of things that might look more like modern Olympic, like freestyle wrestling. So I think that's where people who come from like one perspective, they might start getting confused and they might start thinking, oh, this is just like the platypus of or the Frankenstein of martial arts. Um, but no. So it like you have to think about like you can't be just like pushing someone across the ring, say like in freestyle or Greco. You can't get a point by pushing them out of a circle. And if you push, so we're like when you do Sanda, it's on a stage, a raised platform, and if you both fall off the edge, which is totally part of Sanda, if you both fall off, there's no points. If you can push the other person off and you stay standing, you get points, and or you actually can win the round if you do that twice in one round. So you have 2 seconds to take them down. It's not going to be like this pushing battle. Um, you got to you we have so like in Sanda, then that's why we call them fast throws. So it's not like this kind of complicated like clinch where you're just staying there and trying to set up something like very slow. It's that's not the case. And since you're wearing boxing gloves, and you're not wearing a gi, right? Then you can't set up stuff like in judo and then kind of like in judo, so especially modern judo, there's a lot of sacrifice throws, or there's a lot of throws where if you want to throw them and you fall and roll away, um, you can it say like from a Sanda perspective and my personal perspective, you don't show dominance that way. It shows say like from a wrestling perspective, if you like throw them and then you roll away, it's like you start now. It's like if it's a continuous match, like MMA match or a wrestling match, you still have to be fighting, right? Like the match is still going on. So like that's another reason why Sanda is not judo and judo's not Sanda, right? So um, that's like so let's go to that's the next point. All right. Let me see. So then let's get to the next point. I think I kind of mentioned it, the whole sprawl idea, like pure wrestling, sprawling isn't always primary in Sanda, dropping to your hips low, like onto the mat. That might make you be the person who got who took yourself down. I think we kind of touched on that. So it's like, that's why you'll see a lot of people trying to do counter throws. They'll be a little bit more upright as well. And then also catching kicks and sweeps. So say like another art you're allowed to catch legs would be like Muay Thai. So a lot of times I know a lot of people are like religious fanatics about Muay Thai. So they'll think that it's very sophisticated, but a lot of times they pretty much only do the underarm catch. So it's like the kick comes in about rib height and you catch it under your armpit. So then maybe they'll try to sweep the opponent's standing leg out, or a lot of times they'll just throw the leg down and then maybe try to punch or throw a kick. So in Sanda, you can totally do those things, but a lot of times you can set up even bigger takedowns or more spectacular takedowns. So that's another major difference. Again, Muay Thai has rules specifically, which a lot of people don't realize that they're specifically trying to not be MMA, so they can't really do uh, takedowns like the way Sanda does, and that's one of the things that makes Sanda very unique, right? And that's one of these main things that has kind of been baked into the kung fu culture, really. So, and all that has to be in Sanda, all that has to be done in 2 seconds. All right. And so then another thing, the no-gi dynamics. So, yeah, like I mentioned, judo, you can set up with upper body control and stuff with the lapel and all that and sleeves. You can't do that in Sanda. Also, the whole platform thing I mentioned, like the whole lei tai thing, takedowns prioritize downward force in Sanda, trips, rotational throws, rather than long distance driving. So that would be something you will see in like wrestling, right? So you just can't see. That's why it's like it's not Sanda is not wrestling. Sanda is not judo. Sanda is not Greco. It's not freestyle, right? So in Sanda, you can totally be using all these different all your different strikes, like your jabs and stuff, to um, uh, get your range, just like how you would do in any kind of kickboxing or boxing and stuff. And then again, you can set up your takedowns. Your clinch can set up a takedown. Your boxing defense can help set up a takedown. Right. So it's all kind of about getting close or catching the kicks and stuff. So again, people kind of get confused, right? Especially coming from other martial arts, so they don't know like something that's like when they see something that's a little bit more well-rounded, then like they get confused, right? So I think that's kind of it, really, like the gist of it, right? So Sanda didn't just adopt wrestling or didn't adopt judo. We already had, the traditional Chinese wrestling for thousands of years. Right, judo has only been around for like 100 years. So, um, happy birthday! Yeah, it's a really a baby in the martial art world, especially compared to traditional Chinese wrestling. So that's why it's like when someone from a judo background says anything like they're an expert, it's kind of, in my perspective, it's a little silly. Um, yeah, yeah. So I think we got over the main points. So we'll go over some of your comments right now. So uh Tino, Sanda rule set makes sense for me. Standing fights. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so even my coach in China, he was always talking about really being good at the kickboxing because it's definitely a striking art. So you got to be good at that as well, and then make sure you're good at the takedowns, but you should be very well rounded. So that's why I think Sanda is a pretty high level art. Let's see, who's this? Tina. Oh yeah, you just put this. Oh, so that message came up twice, I guess. Tino, I learned groundwork primarily to get away from the ground. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and actually, speaking of self-defense, yeah, you want to make sure you know how to escape, right? Especially you don't want to be on your back like in a jujitsu guard and all that. Especially for a self-defense scenario, it's really about not holding them down. It's about you getting out from underneath. So I know you have like the little laughing face there, but yeah, it's actually kind of serious. I don't know. Have you guys seen the new like the new season of the was it the self defense championship? The a lot of people are so it's the all women's one, and then some when they get trapped under the attacker, they'll try to stay there, even put the guy in closed guard and stuff. But then the ones that get praised are the ones that are able to like not just try to hold them there, but to actually try to get themselves out from underneath and away from the person. So no, it's serious. It's serious. So it's a really good skill to know, right? You want to make sure that you are able to escape. And actually, watching the self defense challenge really makes me like feel like people really ought to learn wrestling. If only they got good at wrestling. I think the wrestling is much more valuable than the jujitsu, right? Because yeah, it's all about getting out and escaping. So anyway, with that being said, Sanda is not just like some kind of patchwork of martial arts. It is like a reflection of the culture that has a more well-rounded understanding of martial arts, self-defense, fighting, and um, that's why it's still different from these other martial arts. And I think a lot of people who come from these other martial arts, they just have that kind of more of an isolated perspective. So that's why they're going to be like confused when they watch it. Right. Actually, why don't we go ahead and end with that cool video that I made? I'm pretty proud of this one, so let's go ahead and watch it one more time.
In Wushu Sanda, how do you know if a strike is worth 1 point or 2? Imagine the red fighter lands a fast punch, but blue instantly throws him to the mat. Who won the exchange? Before points even matter, a strike has to hit a valid target area: the head, the torso, or the thighs. Sanda's scoring system mathematically rewards technical difficulty. Standard punches to the head or torso, and any valid kick to the thigh will earn you exactly 1 point. But kicking to a higher target carries more risk, so it doubles the reward. A clean kick to the torso or head gets you 2 points. Things get complicated when the fighters clinch. If they get tangled up and both fall to the floor, the fighter who hits the mat second is awarded 1 point. But the ultimate technical showcase is a clean takedown. If you can throw your opponent to the mat while keeping your own feet firmly planted, you earn 2 full points. So looking back at that opening exchange between the two fighters, Red's opening punch earned 1 point, but Blue's clean standing throw took the round with 2.
All right. Yep. So Sanda has points. It's not a free for all, right? You're wearing gloves and all that. But hopefully this kind of gives you an understanding of the culture of it, or like the perspective of like how to win the fight, how to approach the fight. It's definitely more of a well-rounded um, idea, but you don't want to be like touching your knees to the mat. You don't want to do a wrestling knee over toe takedown. And like that's where it kind of separates. I still like to say that it's kind of like 75% of MMA, but still very integrated, right? But once you get someone down or you both fall down, then the match stops and you're both allowed to stand up. So I think it's really nice. I think it looks great. I enjoy it. I've done that many times. Yeah, I'm a two-time USA champion, trained in China. So I think it's fun. Yeah. All right. So with that being said, let us know what you think. Feel free to comment if you have any questions. Also, if you want to come train in Los Angeles, hit me up, right? So feel free to ask. Um, we can always set up something privately, or if you want to do a group, totally fine. We can just set it up. We'll find out what time works for everyone, and then we can set it up. All right. So that being said, enjoy your summer. We'll try to keep this going. I'll try to keep doing this regularly. Hope you like that little video that I made, and we'll see you next time.